Sonny Puzikas. So today I have a story about three good friends: skill, luck, and will. Not so long ago, just a few days ago, all the social media, the news outlets, they were flooded with the story of a potential terrorist attack that was prevented on a high-speed train traveling apparently from Amsterdam to Paris. Apparently the incident itself happened somewhere in the territory of Belgium. So these three friends, skill, luck, and will, happen to be Americans, Air Force, Oregon National Guard, and a student. Apparently there were other folks involved, a British tourist, French student, and you know what's funny is that especially in the social media, we always hear some kind of a story of a very dramatic event, like this event in particular. There's a lot of chest thumping, there's a lot of opinions, there's a lot of pride, and sometimes, granted, sometimes it's justified and it has its place. But let's examine first what happened, why it turned out the way it turned out and not worse, which it certainly had a potential to become a tragedy of epic proportions. First of all, from what we know, it was the relatively young, small-framed gentleman, apparently of Moroccan heritage, who was the perpetrator of this attack on the train. The accounts coming in now say that, in fact, there were no shots fired. The two gentlemen that sustained injuries from an edged weapon, apparently from a box cutter being used. You know, it's a blessing. It's a blessing, and it's a multidimensional blessing. First, obviously, is that the perpetrator had some issues with having skills, with being capable to deal with malfunction that apparently he suffered in his AK-47 rifle. The second part of this luck is that we had gentlemen who were not, sitting there waiting to see what happens. I guess you could rename the skill, luck, and will, you could rename that last guy, will, into balls. It's rare these days to have people that actually take initiative when they see something bad happening or about to happen, and take the matters in their own hands and, like in this particular case, actually resolve the situation and prevent a tragedy of epic proportions. Another funny factor there, obviously, is all the endless discussions that started happening within minutes on the social media, Facebook and everywhere else, about 2 or 3 U.S. Marines, and then a day or 2 days later it turns out that those were not Marines. And look, guys, it doesn't matter if it's a Marine, if it's a SEAL, or if it's a civilian. The point is that these were men, good men that took initiative, that didn't back down, and saved probably quite a few lives as a result of their actions, as a result of their ability to act, their resolve to do what needed to be done. Now, if we look at what did happen and what we know about it so far. Coffee, mandatory. Apparently this schmuck of Moroccan descent was in the bathroom of this high-speed train and was noticed by somebody as he walked out with the AK-47 slung across his body. At that point, and I believe coincidentally or not, it was in the car number 13, what a magic number. These particular gentlemen, they noticed what's happening, and apparently without much weight, without much of a gap, they took action. The would-be terrorist was tackled. Apparently they beat the living shit out of him. Good on you guys. And in the process of them restraining him, he accessed his box cutter or a knife, whatever he had, and one of the three gentlemen directly involved in the action were cut on their head and neck, and apparently the other passenger was also cut. The lessons learned, again from the reports, from what I have gathered so far, is that one of these three brave gentlemen picked up the AK-47 that the bad guy had in his possession, and upon inspection he found that apparently the bad guy did pull the trigger, but AK did not fire. The primer was hit but failed to produce the desired effect. What also appears to be the case is that the perpetrator had no skills, no knowledge how to deal with this malfunction, which would be failure to fire. As a result, he never fired a shot. I'm also hearing that the Luger handgun that he had on him had no magazine in it. Whether the magazine fell out in the process of a struggle or whether he failed to properly seat the magazine, we may never know, or we may find out as a result of probably some interesting conversations that our European friends will be having once this would-be Shaheed will be able to speak. So the lessons are these. We have so many people that we see going to shooting ranges here in the US. Some of them shoot pretty well. Some of them even have skills that could be applicable to the actual realities of a gunfight. Very few train to integrate empty-hand combatives into their arsenal. Very few train the realities of facing people with multiple kinds of weapons, from firearms to blunt weapons to edged weapons. Fortunately for all the passengers on the train, the gentleman that took care of business, so to speak, on that fateful day, for one, they were, at least two of them were members of the military, Reserve and Air Force. Sorry, Marines, next time maybe. And besides having determination and will to fight, they apparently had certain amount of skills to fight. But we also have to examine what if there was a second attacker with the weapon that didn't malfunction. These three gentlemen, two of them being members of military, they obviously had skills and ability to use firearm if there was a need to use firearm after they disarmed this first perp. So if there was a second perpetrator or third or fourth or group of them, at the very least, there would have been a fight. Okay? There would have been an active resistance with at least a possibility of a number of victims being limited. Often when I teach outside of the United States, specifically in Europe, folks do show interest in weapon disarms and defense against edged weapons and so forth, but it's very, very, very limited interest in using firearms. And usual explanation for that is that, well, there are no firearms in Europe. Obviously, that's not the case. Apparently, this specific AK-47 was purchased yet again in Belgium, just like the two AKs used in Charlie Hebdo attack in Paris. So weapons are out there, folks. Just because you have laws that say that it's bad behavior for you to have firearms, it so happens that bad guys don't give a shit about it, what your government or legislators have to say about it. With that in mind, and considering the realities of what's going on with so-called ISIS, with a significant number of young men traveling to Turkey in hopes to enter their holy jihad in Syria or Iraq. Some of them are being turned back. Some of them are being turned back to come back to Europe and perpetrate certain acts that would serve the agenda of their handlers. So I strongly suggest to my friends, students in Europe, learn firearm skills. These attacks will not stop. You do not have a guarantee that every single time something like that happens, you will have a skilled member or reserve member of armed forces of any country, in this case, American soldiers. Nor, as a matter of fact, you can depend on people that are tasked with keeping you safe, like in this case, the staff on this high-speed train who apparently locked themselves in the engine car and did not let people in, although there were quite a few people banging on the doors, begging them to open the doors and let them into safety of the engine car. Once and if something like that happens in your presence, it's going to be on you. And there's a reason why I call this story of three friends with three friends being skill, luck, and will. And although you may have a will to fight, but if you don't have skill to fight, you'll just be a brave, but unfortunately dead hero who attempted to change things. Is there a guarantee that with the skill, you're still not going to end up the same? No, there's never a guarantee. That's why there's a good friend for all of us, good friend to have on our side named luck. But we can't count on that friend being present. As a matter of fact, more likely you'll see another gentleman named Murphy sitting right next to you. For those who spend significant time on the shooting ranges, working on their marksmanship skills, trigger pulling skills, that is not enough. That is not enough. You may find yourself in a non-permissive environment, like these three gentlemen found themselves on the train in Europe, which has a very restrictive firearm use. Obviously, they could not have weapons on them, not in a legal way. Thankfully, they had superiority in numbers, plenty of will, aka balls to fight and take matters in their own hands, and they handled the situation beautifully. Cheers to those gentlemen, to all who participated in this event and prevented this from becoming into major tragedy again. These are brave men. This is a very inspiring story, and they deserve all the kudos that they get. For the rest of us, training is where it's at. It's the skill that's the friend that matters the most in situations like that. Working on that skill is a lifelong commitment. Knowledge is not enough. Knowledge is not equal to skill. Knowledge does not win fights. Skills do. So again, please take a good, deep, and honest look at the arsenal of what you have, of how you could have handled yourself in a situation not unlike this. What is it that you're lacking? What is it that you suck at? Address it. Find qualified people. Find people that are not dogmatic, and ask questions, train, acquire skills for empty handwork, acquire skills for edged weapons, not only against but with them. Acquire skills as it relates to firearms, not only how to disarm or defend yourself against the attacker in close proximity with a firearm, but also how to use the firearm, as well as how to disable the firearm. And in addition, of course, get some medical skills. In events like that, or any other criminal events, likelihood of someone or you yourself being injured is quite high. Just to win the fight, and then watch your family member, a loved one, a bystander bleed out while you're calling 911 and waiting for professionals to arrive, it's not quite the victory that you want. That's the story. I hope you enjoyed it. Subscribe to my channel on YouTube. You can find more information about training offered at SONNYpuzikas.com, also on patriotprotection.net. Keep training and stay dangerous. Sonny Puzikas here. Peace.